Welcome back to Ballaholics. I'm your host, Sam Israel, and I am here today to help dissect all the James Harden drama. It's finally over. James Harden has finally been traded away from the Houston Rockets. Houston Rockets no longer have the problem of having to trade James Harden. He's now a Brooklyn Net. And let me break this trade down for you guys right now. I will help dissect the trade with you guys. Now, for the trade itself, the Brooklyn Nets received James Harden, a second-round draft pick from the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Rockets will receive 3 first-rounders from the Brooklyn Nets, 2022, 2024, and 2026. And the Rockets also will receive pick swaps, 4 first-round pick swaps from the Nets, 2021, 2023, 2025, and 2027. Of course, the new rule in the NBA is that you cannot trade consecutive first-round draft picks each year, which is why they couldn't trade away, picks consecutively. They had to trade away every 2 years. But basically, this is like 7 draft picks right now, because if you take swaps into consideration, all swaps is whichever team has the higher draft pick between the Rockets and the Nets, the Rockets are entitled to that pick. So they have 3 additional first-round draft picks, and they have the option to get the higher draft pick out of those 2 teams. The Rockets also received Caris LeVert, which they immediately traded to the Indiana Pacers and received Victor Oladipo. And Jared Allen now winds up and finds a home in Cleveland, along with Taurean Prince. And listen, right now, I guess there's a lots of different ways to skin the cat right now. I'm going to skin it right now by just pointing out some winners right now. The winner, obviously, is James Harden. He got what he wanted. He's been complaining about being a Houston Rocket. We saw it in the press conference a couple of days ago when James Harden just said, just flat out to the media, I can't do this anymore. I don't think this is going to work out anymore. I've done everything I can for the city of Houston. And of course, then you saw John Wall saying it's hard to play well when certain players aren't buying in. Like, we didn't know who he was referencing there. And then DeMarcus Cousins actually explicitly said, I didn't even come here for James Harden. They asked DeMarcus Cousins, you feel betrayed that you signed here and James Harden, as soon as you signed here, James Harden wanted out. DeMarcus Cousins simply said, I didn't come here for James Harden. I came here to reunite with my former Wildcat, John Wall. Keep in mind, DeMarcus Cousins and John Wall were former teammates at Kentucky back in college. And James Harden spoke out, been speaking out, even though he had 2 years remaining on his contract, gets traded, gets granted his wish to be a Brooklyn Net and join Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. We all knew that there were talks with Kevin Durant and James Harden. There was chatter that James Harden wanted to be a Net. Kevin Durant and James Harden, even in the offseason in California during their workouts, basically spoke about James Harden eventually becoming a Brooklyn Net. We don't know if Kyrie Irving was included in those talks. And I want to point out right here, I think it's really funny because if we look back in Cleveland in 2017, Kyrie Irving wanted out of Cleveland because he wanted to be the man. It was nothing personal, but he just wanted to be the man. He was tired of LeBron being the alpha. Kyrie wanted to be the alpha. He wanted to be the leader on a team and be that guy. Well, not only now is Kyrie not the second best, not only is Kyrie Irving not the best player, because when we went to Brooklyn, obviously, it was an exception. He knows Durant's the best player on Brooklyn. We all know Durant was the best player on Brooklyn prior to the James Harden trade. He still is. And Kyrie Irving was the second best player. Kyrie is the third best player now, at best. At worst. Kyrie's not the fourth best player. Don't worry, they traded away all their depth. They traded away Caris LeVert. Spencer Dinwiddie's not playing. He's injured. He had partial torn ACL. Jared Allen's gone. Joe Harris is still there. But overall, James Harden is a winner. Kyrie Irving, I want to say he's a winner in the fact that they can win a ring. But in terms of Kyrie Irving wanting to be that guy on the team, he's now the third best player, it seems like. Now, it shouldn't be about that. It should be about getting the ring. All 3 of these players are no scrubs. All 3 of these players are top 20 players in the NBA. Kevin Durant's arguably the best player in the NBA right now. I don't think so. I think it's LeBron James. James Harden is arguably a top 5 player. Kyrie Irving, top 20 player. Safe to assume. I also want to say a winner of this, and we already knew this, but player empowerment. In today's NBA, players have the power to go wherever they want. even though James Harden had 2 years left in his contract, he wanted to be a Brooklyn Net, and he became a Brooklyn Net. This was like when Anthony Davis wanted to be a Los Angeles Laker. He had a couple years left on his contract. Didn't matter. He became a Laker. How about when Kawhi Leonard wanted to play in California? It didn't matter that they traded him to Toronto. He played in California. Paul George even was on the record when he was with the Pacers. I want to play in California. They traded him to OKC. Where is he now? He's in California. Players get to choose where they want to go, and they have the power. Players empowerment. That is a winner. Player empowerment is a winner, and this is further evidence of that. Now, in terms of the Brooklyn Nets themselves, the standards of success, the measurements of success now at this point is you need to win, at least make it out of the Eastern Conference and be a viable contender. Some people are saying that the Brooklyn Nets need to win the entire thing this year. Can we just please start? I just wanted Kyrie Irving to play a game. Let's just eliminate all expectations of the Brooklyn Nets right now, of them winning the championship or making it out of the East. Can we just have an expectation? Can we just wish for Kyrie Irving to play an NBA game with James Harden and Kevin Durant? Now listen, if these guys are all playing, I think that they should be making it out of the East. They should be making it out of the East. I know on a previous episode I said I don't know if the antics with Brooklyn I don't know if it's going to work out. And then of course Ian disagreed with me and said, you know what, Sam? You know, if Kyrie Irving, if you were in school and you were doing bad in your tests, you did bad in a test, and then someone went up to you and said, why'd you do bad in your test? Wouldn't it be annoying? Well, listen, Ian, listen. He's not even showing up to take his test. I show up to take my tests. It's ridiculous. Now, I'm really excited about this acquisition of James Harden. Not because I think that they're necessarily the best and the favorite team to win. I still have LeBron James and Anthony Davis as the favorites in Los Angeles. But James Harden fits in with that Brooklyn Nets culture. In Brooklyn, you see, Brooklyn, the Nets, it's not just about winning games. It's an arts center. It's entertainment. The players play with entertainment. They have fun in Brooklyn. It's an art. They play the game artistically. Kyrie Irving, Kevin Durant, they frequently refer to the game as a craft, as their craft. And basketball is their art form. And you look at James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant, that's true. Kyrie Irving with his ball handling skills, one of the best ball handling skills I've ever seen in the NBA. Kevin Durant's ability as a 7-footer to take the ball up the court and shoot over any defender he wants, wherever he wants on the court. How about James Harden with his step backs? The Brooklyn Nets getting James Harden, they went from being this great art place to a circus. The Brooklyn Nets, they're going to be a circus. They're going to be must-watch television. It's great for the NBA. The ratings on the NBA, I'm very happy for. And we finally have a team in the East that's going to boost high rankings, high ratings. I don't know if it's going to be bigger than my New York Knicks, but it's going to be close. We'll see. The Knicks had a good start. The Nets are only up by 2 games. We'll see what happens. But anyway, I want to talk about the Rockets a little bit too. Not that the Rockets lost. I'm a little confused because when you traded away Russell Westbrook, you didn't trade Russell Westbrook away for lots of young assets and high draft picks and future draft picks. You traded Russell Westbrook away with the intent of winning now, with getting John Wall, with getting DeMarcus Cousins. These are veterans. But yet, when you trade James Harden away, instead of trying to trade for that collective group in Brooklyn, that, you know, Jared Allen, Karis LeVert, Joe Harris, Spencer Dinwiddie, instead of getting that collective group and winning now and pairing them up with John Wall, DeMarcus Cousins, Christian Wood, PJ Tucker, Eric Gordon, you settled for first-round draft picks. Now, by no means, I completely understand the Rockets trading away James Harden to get young draft picks. The young draft picks, good assets, young assets, and they're going to grow in the future. But all I'm going to ask is, if that was your goal of trading James Harden, that should have also been your goal with trading Russell Westbrook away. For example, we look at OKC when they had Russell Westbrook and Paul George. They traded away both of those players for young assets and high draft picks. They were the same. You didn't trade one away to win now and then one star away to simply get draft picks. It was a united front. So it's a little unclear what Houston's plan is. Little unclear. I personally don't understand why in the world you don't keep Caris LeVert. Caris LeVert right now is arguably better than Victor Oladipo. He's younger, 26 years old. Oladipo's 28, 29 years old. He's not coming off an injury. His contract's not expiring. He's on a team-friendly deal. And he averaged 19 points on the Brooklyn Nets this season when he wasn't even the vocal point of the offense. He wasn't even the second person in the offense. He was the third person in the offense, and he was averaging 19 points. And Victor Oladipo is going to be a free agent. There are reports that Victor Oladipo has no long-term plans to remain a Houston Rocket. So what was the point of that? You could have kept Caris LeVert. You should have gotten Jared Allen too, by the way. Nothing against DeMarcus Cousins, but Houston Rockets, if I was the Houston Rockets GM, I'm going for all the young assets and future first rounders. And while I get what they're doing with the first round draft picks, I think Jared Allen constitutes someone who's a young player. He's a young player. You keep that collective group in Brooklyn that got Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving to go there in the first place. Keep that culture intact. Maybe you even sign Kenny Atkinson as an assistant head coach there. But I'm upset about Houston. And they also could have gotten Ben Simmons, apparently, from the Philadelphia 76ers. What happened there? If your goal was to win now by getting John Wall and DeMarcus Cousins, why didn't you also acquire Ben Simmons, who would have put your team in the best chance to win now? Plus, he's a young player as well. And you could have also traded James Harden to Milwaukee for Drew Holiday and Chris Middleton. I don't know. I don't know. It's going to be really interesting to see. People are trying to hate on the Nets because of their defense. That's not a reason to go after the Nets. Their defense is going to be great. James Harden is an above-average defender. We saw it in the NBA playoffs last year when he had that clutch block against Luke Dort, which propelled the Houston Rockets over the OKC Thunder and brought them to the second round. We know Kevin Durant is an underrated defender, grossly underrated defender. He can be an all-defensive first or second team. We don't know what's going on with Kyrie. I'm not talking about Kyrie right now. This should be a top offense for the Nets, and they should be a top defense. The only thing holding back this Brooklyn Nets team is egos. All these players are acclimated and accustomed to being the best player on their team. Kevin Durant will be the best player on this Brooklyn Nets team. But how about James Harden, who's been the best player on the Houston Rockets for the past 10 years? And are we just going to ignore the fact that he had a hard time playing with other stars, like Chris Paul, like Russell Westbrook, like Dwight Howard back in the day? And not only now does he have to play with one star, he has to mesh with two superstars. Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving. Sorry, I shouldn't say Kyrie Irving is a superstar. He's an all-star. It's going to be fun in Brooklyn, though. It's going to be really fun. I'm going to really enjoy watching this Brooklyn Nets team. The only thing holding this Nets team back is going to be the egos and the off-the-court drama. Can Steve Nash ensure that this team plays cohesively together and that they're trying to reduce the egos on the team? First Take was saying they were trying to debate which player had the most pressure in the NBA. Is it Kawhi Leonard? Is it Kyrie Irving? Is it James Harden? No. Steve Nash has the most pressure right now in the NBA. He has the hardest job, but the most rewarding job. I'm excited. What do you guys think? Who won this trade? Was it the Brooklyn Nets or the Houston Rockets? I gotta go. It's tough. I gotta go with the Brooklyn Nets. You have to full send it. The Rockets won too. They got a lot of good first round, a lot of good future picks. Should have also gotten Caris LeVert. Indiana Pacers did well acquiring Caris LeVert. The Cavs did well acquiring Jared Allen. They'll probably trade Andre Drummond very soon and keep that young core Jared Allen along with There are other young players on the Cavs with Darius Garland, Colin Sexton. Now you have Jared Allen. That's a good young core in Cleveland. Ballaholics, your host Sam Israel. I'll see you next week.